Okay, so what we have here and here is, of all things, sedge. I call this rock sedge because it's growing here in the rocks. There's a lot of sedges in the world, probably hundreds of species, and they're nearly all wet growers. They grow with their feet in the water, so many of them, very, very wet areas. This one has adapted to the dry. Here it is growing in this, on top of this rock and just gravel, and presumably quite happy. I just really like these spunky survivors that can survive in these tough conditions.
And you imagine that the roots maybe have touched on some kind of groundwater, Jake, or deep, or they're just more drought tolerant than the other sedges?
Oh, I think both things are probably going on. We're sitting on this chert rock, which is a stratified rock, and it's finding cracks in the rock. It gets roots way down deep there, where it's probably finding some moisture, although it is drought tolerant too. It grows mostly in dry places, which is amazing for a sedge. Spunky survivors, boy, you got to hand it to the lichens. These are not plants. They belong to two different kingdoms: the fungus kingdom, and the alga kingdom. So, or either that or the blue-green bacteria, the cyanobacteria. So the fungus provides lodging on the rock. It is able to drink in moisture, so that it even absorbs a little bit of moisture from the coastal fogs we have here. The alga it has chlorophyll, so it photosynthesizes. So it's this is a little tiny little micro world. You're just talking about a couple of cells, photosynthesizing. It's a very slow process. It does not produce much in a year or even in 10 years, but it does produce something, and it shares it with the fungus that it gets lodging and water from. So it's a mutualism. It's just amazing. And we're talking about it, as I said, it is not in the plant kingdom. Lichens are not. In fact, they're not in any one kingdom. They're in 2 or 3 kingdoms: the fungal kingdom and the algae kingdom, or the blue-green algae kingdom. Those are all separate kingdoms, like plant kingdom, animal kingdom. See, you understand? So there's foliose lichen, which is foliage-like, leaf-like. See, like this. Then there's crustose lichens, different species. It's like a crust, and boy, talk about the life processes. That's really a slow-paced thing there. God knows how. This is probably centuries old. This tiny little thing here. We even find lichens growing in sidewalks. There's a species that likes calcium, and there's calcium in sidewalks. And it's these tiny little pore spaces even in a smooth concrete thing, it's able to lodge there, and it's protected by the little pore space, so it's not being tramped on, and it photosynthesizes. Some of sidewalks, if you notice, it has a very light, dull orange color. Yeah, that's a lichen. We have here a goldenrod. This is Mount Davidson. We have 2 species of goldenrod, and here it is in bloom in late July. That's amazing. It's a very, very dry year, and how it is able to not only have green leaves, but to flower and to produce seed. Fruiting is a very energy demanding thing. It takes a lot of energy to produce a seed. And so here it is. It's been how long since there's been a rain? Long time. This is a very, very dry year, and yet it is putting out a flower. And nature's designed some things, like I always encourage people who are gardening with natives to not load up for spring, spring bloom, when all the pretty wildflowers are. To think of the ecosystem. Think of feeding insects that are out at that time. This is the season for insects. It's summertime. They need these late flowering composites like goldenrod and aster and pearly everlasting. We're going to see some later. You want some of those in your garden because you want something for whatever is out at this time of year, July, August.
So not just the April annuals, but something maybe more perennial that's going to be throughout the year, or at least summer into the fall.
Absolutely, perennials, yes. We have here, growing in the cracks in the rocks, our state grass of California, purple needle grass. It's got its roots way down there in cracks in the rock. And it will survive even people walking on it because it's got the rocks that's semi-protected. And what is bad here is the weeds moving in. We've got two things. We've got this hairy dandelion, sometimes called hairy cat's ears, which I'm going to remove right now. I didn't get the whole root. See, it has a tap root and it broke off here. So the root that I left in the ground is going to sprout and it's going to be back. So I haven't killed it yet. And that's unfortunate. So we had the hairy dandelion, and here's another one here, which I'll try to get that out in a moment. And we got sheep sorrel here. See this red? And that's runs by roots. There is more roots. This is all connected. I got this over here, and this is all the same plant. This is all one plant. And they can run indefinitely. Here's another one right here. That's so I removed that, so at least I'm not killing it because I can't get all the root system, but give me some temporary relief. And anyway, if I didn't do that, the sheep sorrel and the dandelion would take over, outcompete the native, which the bunch grass. When I say outcompete, all I mean is that the weeds left their natural predators on the other side of the ocean, so they don't have anything sucking their juices, sucking their energy here. That's the thing about non-native, some non-native plants, not all of them, some of them get very aggressive, displace the native plants. That's what we are trying to avoid. They will sometimes shade them out, as they did here, appropriate more the nutrients, the nutrients that the plant needs. They will produce. They will gnaw on the roots. They will quaff the nectar and eat the pollen and so on. Leave nothing for the native. So that's. We want to save the natives because there's a lot of creatures that depend on the natives. all the creatures that are around here co-evolved with the native plants, and they need them to survive. So we talk about biological diversity. It's very important to understand this, that we need the native plants and the animals. And this biodiversity is very intimately related to climate warming. So it's very important that we save the native plants and animals all over the world.
And this here, Jake, by your boot, that's more of the sorrel you were talking about, huh?
What's that?
That blue mix.
Yeah, here's the sheep sorrel.
And maybe, like you said, if his rhizomatous has crept all the way over there?
Yes.
Perhaps?
Yes.
There's a little bit of an arrowhead-like leaf.
Yes.
And it goes red.
That's right.
Looks like it's a summer bloomer.
I can't say that all of these are, but see these little tits there at the base of the, see those little tits?
Yeah.
That's, sheep sorrel will have some of those. Not all leaves, you have to look at all of the leaves, but most of them, that's one sure way of identifying it. And if you're through filling this, I'll pull it.